We are doing a sketching event, and as part of my supplies I bought an artist Loft kit that's academic level 1, and it's a bunch of illustration pens, and you can see in there sort of that they come in a range of different sizes and different tips, and they are a nice large size that is easy to hold, so the sketchers will be able to have a range of different options and see which ones they like the best. So Artist Loft is a entry-level brand, but I think it'll be perfect for our testing that we're doing here, so people are learning how to sketch and learning how to use different kinds of tools. So I will check in afterwards and let you know what people thought of this kit. Hello! Alright, so we've done some tests with the Artist Loft pens, and people in general like them in an urban sketching kind of environment. A downside is that they just come in this little plastic bin, which is not long-term very useful, so I'm going to have to put them into some sort of a Ziploc container or a little plastic container so that I have something that I can store them in more long-term. We got the 10 pens, so I'm going to now do tests with them to show you what they're like. The markings on them are fairly tiny. You would think with the markings being the most important thing on here that they would be nice and big, but it is sort of hard to read what they are saying. To be able to grab the one that you're interested in, the caps don't have, they have a little bit of marking, but you have to be staring down at the tops of the cap to figure out what they are for, to know what you're looking for. I'm generally in favor when I'm working with art tools to be able to easily grab what I'm looking for, rather than having to sit there and go digging through them and stare at them to figure out what I need. Alright, so they have different sizes. This is the 0, see if I'm going to focus, 0.03, 0.03, see that's the thinnest line. So this would be for the finer detail. You know, on one hand, you can make it sort of dark, but there would be no reason to go burning yourself out with the 0.03 when you have got other options that would be best for the finest line. So 0.05. It's a little bit thicker. And again, it's not that any of these are better or worse, it's just that you use them in different kinds of situations depending on what you're drawing. It could be you're drawing something tiny where you need really thin lines. It could be that you're drawing something fairly thick. 0.1. Now I've talked to a bunch of different sketchers, and they often have very different types of pens that they choose to work with, and it depends if they tend to work on smaller things or larger things or more delicate things or bolder things. 0.3. Well, a lot of it is just personal preference. And most of the sketchers I know like having a bunch of options there, so that even if they normally work with a particular thickness of pen, there still could be times, 0.5, there still could be times that they need something that is thicker or thinner to add some details or to fill in an area, and it's good to have all of the different options available to you. We were just doing a sketch event on Sunday, 0.8, and she was talking about this very issue where, you know, sure, it's great to have the thinner pen to be able to do, you know, window detail or something like that, but then sometimes you just need to block in a swath of area that's in shadow, and it could burn out the pen and, you know, waste a lot of ink if you're sitting there doing with the super thin thing. You might as well just grab the thick one and do it in a couple strokes. 1.0. So use the right tool for the right activity. But in terms of these particular artist lofts working well, they seem quite reasonable for the task. You know, they make a range of colors. They, once they dry, are smear proof, so this will be fine for doing watercolors over or whatever. They dry fairly quickly, as we saw here. This is the brush tip. So it's thin or thick depending on what part of it you press on. See how thin I can make it, and then, you know, if you go sideways you can make it pretty thick. And this is a good one for filling in blocks of area. Alright, so you have a nice range of options. The Artist Loft is a inexpensive brand, so you get a good number of pens for the money that you spend. And you know, I don't know, maybe there's a little less ink in here than in some of the higher quality pens. Maybe the exact thickness is a little different than the exact thickness on some other pens, but I think especially if you're getting started with sketching and drawing, that this is a great set to give you an idea of the range of options that are in there. They will work perfectly fine for the kinds of things that you're doing. And then after that, if you want to start playing with some of the other kinds of pens that are out there and see if they feel better in your hand or if they feel different on the paper or anything like that, then that is a personal preference up to how you're working with it. But for our tests that we did, people were happy to use these and they certainly have good results. So let me know if you have any questions.